Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I will be talking on the topic of the concept of state given in sociological terms, that is in theories of sociology. How do you define a state? That we will be discussing, and theories regarding what a state is. So there are many different theories that about how a state is formed, and different people have given the exact origin of state. So first, a theory being the divine origin of state, that is divine theory. Spelling mistake is there, but divine theory means creation of God and by religious evolution. So what this means, state that exists today is a creation of God itself. The God has created a state to serve and to work for its devotees, deities. That is, a divine theory in short means that God has created a state for religious evolution, and people or the members of the state will develop state and work for the welfare of this divine theory, and that is this religious deity. So in a state we see, if we take an example, in a state you worship certain type of god, certain deity, so you work for that deity. Second is traditions of lawgivers. So that is this, basically this theory refers to that law defines state. If certain territory by law, if it is given, it is a state, then it will become a state. So if we go from a legal framework perspective, state will be created by law. It will be the traditions of lawgivers. When law gives the definition of state, it is state. Third being a government contract. So we all are aware about the fourth one is social contract theory, the classical theory where Hobbes, Locke and Rousseau, these three thinkers have given a social contract theory where government, the contract is made between the people who submit their rights, and with that, these rights after being submitted, they create a state, a supreme body which will rule upon them. So rulers will be elected from people only. They will decide who will rule upon them. So that is, government creates a contract between the people to create a state. Next, fifth theory is about theory of publicist, that is political thinkers like Aristotle, who says that man is a political animal, and he establishes a overall political system for our country, for a nation. That how political system is established, different types of and forms of government are there. Aristocracies there, monarchies there, democracies there, pluralist societies there, different types of societies and different types of state Aristotle has given. And last theory being the evolutionary theory. So it basically means that how different institutions that are existed in a society influence each other, and through a process of evolution they create a state. So for example, different institutions like family is there, educational institution is there, financial institution is there. So all of these institutions work together, and through influence and through evolution they create a state. So let us look at the social contract theory in a bit detail. So basically this social contract theory establishes that how people submitted their rights and created a state. So mainly three thinkers are there. For first Hobbes, second Locke, and third Rousseau is there. We'll go one by one in detail. They have divided the main category or steps in creation of state. Firstly being human nature. What was the nature of human at the time they were like when they gave this theory, what was the nature of human existed at that time, and what was the state of nature, that is what was their surroundings, then how a contract was made and authority was given to state, and what were the rights of people at that time. This is basically a stepwise they have given the social contract theory. So first Hobbes, he is a basically utilitarian thinker. He basically believes and says that individual are individualistics, they are very power seeking animal, and the state of nature. So individual is basically very selfish in nature, who is always hungry for power, and for self-interest he can harm others. Basically this is what Hobbes tells us about this human nature in social contract theory. Now what was the state of nature at that time is, he says that war of all against all. He says that there is a war for power, for authority. Everyone is in war because they want certain power, and due to this they have come to an agreement that we should not fight. But what exactly for is, they will submit their rights and create a state for avoiding pain and enjoying pleasure. So there is a reason for submitting their rights, is basically they want a proper authority to establish, because they finally think that why should we fight for the same if we can establish a separate authority for the same. So again, what was the authority of the state? It was an absolute state, that people didn't have any rights against state, except they only had a right to life, so they cannot rebel the state. So in Hobbes we have seen that man is a power seeking animal. He is always seeking for power and authority. That's why there is always war against all. So due to this, to avoid pain and enjoy pleasure of power, they created a contract between each other, submitted all of their rights, and created a state. A state, it was an absolute state, so that is, state was absolute supreme on top, whereas people did not have any right to rebel against the state, whereas they only had a right to life. Next thinker who has given the social contract theory is John Locke. It was a moderate and balanced view that man has a reason not to harm others and promote cooperation. So basically here we see that man was sane in nature. In Hobbes, man was in insanity, was in seeking for power, but in Locke, he is a balanced individual, he is a neutral individual. So he has a reason, though he is self-centered, but he will not harm others and promote cooperation. So in this Locke's theory, the state of nature will be state of peace, where each and every individual will not fight each other, rather they will stay in peace and they will act rationally to preserve rights and avoid any harm to cause each other. So they will create a contract basically to exercise of power of the organs of government. So how will we make laws? How will we execute those laws and adjudicate those laws? That was up to question. Though there was state of peace, some authority is needed to make laws, right? So which is the reason why they created a contract. Next, the authority of state, it was a limited state. Basically, state protects rights of individuals in this regard, that is right to life, personal liberty, and right to property. So in Locke's theory, rights were a bit flexible in nature, which is the reason why it was a limited state. And rights, humans had gotten rights in Locke's theory. Last thinker being Rousseau. So Rousseau is also somewhat similar to Locke. There are certain things, because he was a bit of much of an optimistic view guy. So he says that man is essentially good and possesses self-love and sympathy for others. So basically here this is a state of bliss. Bliss exactly means it's not peace, but it's better than that. But to create a contract, why is it needed to create a contract in Rousseau's case, is basically there was no freedom, equality, or fraternity. Though there was a state of bliss, each man for himself. That was the case in Rousseau. And to regain the freedom, the contract was made, and here he created a will. So will, basically he has given two types, that is general will and absolute will, etc, etc. He has given different types of will. So basically the contract establishes liberty. He gives liberty to individuals under the general will. So it was also an absolute state based on the general will of the individuals, and popular sovereignty is the sole consideration for lawmaking. So what happened in Rousseau's case was that it was a state of bliss, exactly, that man is equal, free, and there is a harmony before society that creates itself inequality. That to regain this freedom and equality, the contract is to be formed and state is to be given authority. So what were the rights of the people in Rousseau's case? So general will of a person, it is supreme. So individuals will surrender their rights to collective will, to make a collective will of the community. This is basically the social contract theory in detail. Next, there are two more theories left, that is theory of separation of powers. Montesquieu has given this theory of separation of powers. Basically, we all know that in our Constitution of India also, three organs are mainly there: legislature, executive, and judiciary. So why these three organs are there? That is separation of powers, decentralization of powers, to prevent the abuse of power. So legislature will make laws, executive will implement laws, and judiciary will interpret those laws. So these are the basic division given in the theory of separation of powers. And lastly being the historical theory. So this theory basically explains how from the historical development and slowly, gradually, due to social, economic, and political changes, the state has been created. So this theory basically means that state is not a result of a contract. It is neither created by God, but it is created by human interactions and societal needs. So this is most believable theory according to me also, because when we look at the perspective of history, there was no state when the human civilization started. So slowly through historical developments, social, economic and political developments, as slowly we progress, the state was created through the interactions only. So the customs are there, traditions, gradual developments are there. So according to this, the states are created. Many thinkers are there who talk about the historical theory, that is Frederick Carl, von Savigny. Many other theorists are there who suggest that how contract is not the sole reason why there is a creation of state. Throughout the course of history, the state was created. And with this, I have concluded the topic of the concept of states and different theories of state. The PPT will be provided in the description. Thank you.